Welcome to another episode of the Lilac City Leadership Podcast. We're your hosts, James Krejci
and Doyle Wheeler.
And really, Doyle and I were talking. We actually, for this, a lot of podcasts say, this is season 3, episode 49. We actually don't have seasons anymore. We decided to throw those away today. And it's just one long, continuous podcast with no seasons with a bunch of episodes. So
leadership never ends.
Exactly.
If it does, it's over.
Here we go with another episode. Thanks to all of our listeners out there. Today, super special episode. We have, we're down here, downtown Spokane, I think at the main location for Sweet Frostings. And we're excited. We're here with Sally and Jessica Winfrey, who are CEO and CFO. I think Jessica is CEO, Sally is the CFO. Doyle filled me in on their titles before we got here, so
awesome.
Hopefully we got that dialed in.
It was on a whiteboard.
I switched my whiteboard around.
An official org chart over here near the wall.
Attempting. Yeah.
This is exciting.
Yeah, you look at the org chart and it's instantly, I didn't know it'd take that many people to make cupcakes.
Yeah.
So we're excited about this episode.
It takes a lot of people to make cupcakes like you guys make, I think. So.
Well, we make a little more than cupcakes, so that's where the org chart comes in.
We make a lot of things.
So kind of, on that line, fill us in on where you started and how you got to where we are today as a company.
Actually, before you go too far, how about you introduce yourselves?
Yeah, I'm Jessica Winfrey Atkinson. I just got married this last year.
Oh, congrats.
But yeah, and this is my mom.
I'm Sally Winfrey, owner, operator.
Yeah, Sweet Frostings Bake Shop.
I'm starter up of.
Yeah, we're coming up on 10 years now. In November, it'll be our 10-year mark, which means Sally started the company when I was only 14, so I didn't have a lot to do with the startup.
We drug her in here. She worked weekends and
smart.
Yeah.
She worked from the beginning on, so actually before the beginning.
Yeah.
Pre-launch. You were pre-launch then.
She was pre-launch.
So what was that like? Were you baking things at home and decided, what was the day like when you said, hey, we're going to make a legit business out of this?
Well,
it's a little bit different than you would think.
From my point of view, as a 14-year-old, I just saw my mom quit her job and lost her car and health insurance and did all this stuff. But in my head, when I was like 14, obviously I didn't care about any of that. I just thought it was so cool. We were just hanging out, creating recipes. We were making just fun, delicious goods on our free time. And we went to a little farmer's market and we decided to just, do these cupcakes. It was just us and another person, and we sold
it was like 300 the first day in Chatteroy at the Grange.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
At the Grange.
And there's like 300 people that live up there,
right.
So you sold to everybody.
Yeah. And then it went so well, we went home that night, baked 300 more, and we sold out by close both days.
Yeah.
Wow.
And my friend that I was working with, I just said, I'm in. Let's do it. And that's how we started and found the location here downtown.
That's awesome.
It was kind of a iffy corner, but it had great parking availability and great potential.
Yeah.
And,
close to the Davenport Hotel, not too far away.
I was the professional commercial baker, and she did it as a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And said, you should help me do this. And so I realized that I needed to be home more. My job was taking me out of town half the month, where I was working out of town as a salesperson in the baking industry.
Gotcha.
And so this was my way of being able to spend the night at home every night.
Smart.
I might be like, that's all you might see me do at night when we first started, but
yeah.
At least you were home and not traveling, and but yeah, it was really fun being able to be there just in the beginning, like seeing all that happen, and not fully comprehending it necessarily as a 14-year-old, knowing the risks and everything that was going on. I just thought it was so cool. My mom was doing all these things. We always baked together growing up, so it just was always like a fun thing to do, makes things feel homey. It makes you feel good, smelling chocolate chip cookies and
Exactly.
yeah.
Now I'm getting hungry.
I know.
There'll always be a theme on this podcast. Doyle gets hungry.
We always
brought some stuff.
talk about food and baked goods, regardless of who we have on the show.
No kidding.
And it's it's a leadership podcast, but we get back to food and baked goods a lot. So
Yeah. Lead off with sugar.
Yeah.
exactly.
We'll edit that out, maybe.
We should
Or not.
probably bring some up for you guys.
Oh
Keep
man,
you going.
Yeah.
Text Emma or something.
that would be awesome.
Bring some cookies up.
So the passion for baking, was that just, you kind of mentioned that, it was a family thing, it was an enjoyable, I guess for you, when did you start to really, you obviously had a passion for it, and then when you saw your mom doing that, when did it really click that, hey, this is also a passion of mine that I want to jump into?
Well, before you even started Sweet Frostings, we were in the baking industry, and I would go on business trips with you during the summer.
It was crazy. It was our time to spend together because I traveled so much.
Yeah.
So if I had to drive to Boise or something, Jess was with me. She decorated cookies in Pullman. She
in like their
Wow.
grocery store.
Yeah.
Wow.
I think Dismore's, in Pullman.
Oh,
yeah.
I would bring an extra lab coat. She'd put the little white lab coat on, and I'd drag her in and say, I have an assistant today. And she was just as good as the other decorators we'd decorate cookies and cake, and
Wow.
I don't cake decorate, but
Yeah.
it
it was a way that we could spend some
It
time
was fun,
together,
yeah.
and we'd go to Boise and spend the time in the hotel, and I'd run out in the morning early and visit customers, and then in the afternoon we'd go to the water park and
Yeah.
stuff.
That's
Nice.
cool.
Yeah. Go to Cheesecake Factory for dinner.
Yeah,
and
super
just
fun.
girl things. And so she got opened up to it by traveling with me.
Yeah, I also remember just being really young, like with my friends, we would do cupcake parties for my birthday. We would do, if it was just a summer bored day with my friend, we'd just roll out some cookies. I remember slapping powdered sugar on my face, like, ready to go. Yeah.
That's the war paint.
Yeah. It was, you gotta look like you're baking. And,
So
you
throw
know,
a little flour
gotta
on
throw a little
yourself,
flour
and
on
yeah.
yourself. You're like, okay, we're gonna do this. We're gonna get dirty today.
So the passion just came naturally.
Pretty much, yeah.
Being around it, how can you not be into, cupcakes and cookies and that warm smell when you come
Yeah.
home? It's just, it's the thing that just makes people feel at home, whether you are into baking or not, you just like eating cookies. Like, it just makes you feel good. And that's just something we always did together, too. So it was always, like, something I thought of my mom doing.
For
Yeah.
me, it wasn't really the baking and the cookies in the home. My mom didn't bake, but my grandmother did. She baked cinnamon rolls and did quite a great job at it. But it was the art factor. I went into cake decorating before I knew how to bake, basically. So it was the cake art. And that's one thing that we do a lot of here
Is custom
art
Yeah.
cakes.
Okay. Yeah.
And the girls are really, really talented downstairs. They're better
Yeah.
than I ever was. So you just hire better than you are, and you're good to go.
That's a key. That's a key. We'll get into, actually, that's one of our curiosity topics for today is on that line. Let's just go ahead and dive into it. It's basically like a lot of entrepreneurs that start a business. They are the expert in all things of their business, right? If you're launching a tech company, you're probably some smart dude that's programming something or inventing something. But as a company grows, then you can't do all things once you get to a certain size. So tell us about the journey, both of you, as far as like once you got to a certain point, how you step back and really trust the people that you've hired, and how do you continue to do that as you grow?
That's been a big conversation just in this last year. Obviously we grew slowly from just like 7 employees to 35.
38 now.
38. And then COVID happened, and we went from 38 to back down to 8 employees.
yeah.
So we really had to start over in a way, and then kind of evaluate that. Like, how do we do that? So that is a huge leadership question. That's something we've had to talk about, and we actually do have a business coach that helps us.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, because I was a baker.
Right.
And my ex-business partner was a financial. And so when it started to grow, and it started to grow really large, I was struggling with the financial end of it, and I needed advice on how to do a lot of the figures, just figuring labor costs and ingredient costs. And so we hired a business coach to help us out, and he's been instrumental in helping us push forward and get larger even.
It's great.
And scaling like that, when you're trying to trust people to take on these jobs that you yourself have always done, it's tough to do that, and you just have to let go a little bit. There's a large part of owning a company, and if you want to grow, you have to
depend on your people.
You have to grow, which is hard. Like, growing is not easy. It's change. It's new. It's a risk.
Sometimes hurtful.
Yeah. I mean, just like opening a business, it's a risk. Like, you don't know what's going to happen, but you won't know until you try it. Yeah. So
we find that people like getting more responsibility.
Yeah.
It makes them step up to the plate and take on a little ownership of their little part of the business. And we have a lot of people in those particular departments. We've had to separate it into departments, as you see on the org chart. We have, decorating department, baker team 1, baker team 2. We have a restaurant potential at Whitworth that we're working on.
So just putting people in charge and like you said, hiring people who are better at it than us. We've never ran a restaurant, so we're getting people who actually know restaurant and help us in that department, and people who are super talented artists. We just hired somebody with an art degree to be a cake decorator, and it's just another medium of art. So just kind of being creative and being open to letting people into your inner circle. You know? Yeah.
I agree. That's probably the biggest struggle in business. That seems to be a theme whenever you listen to, not necessarily leadership, but business advice. It's like you gotta delegate. You have to let go, and it's hard, especially when you're creative to begin with. You're letting go of your creativity, and someone else owns it and takes the lead on it. And anyway, it's very clear that's worked well for you. It's inspiring to see motivated people putting out fantastic product at your counter. It's never disappointed.
It's sometimes hard when you're, you want to be in control of this raging animal that's growing out of control, but it's also like Jessica is very good at business. She's actually better at business than I am, and to give that up to Jessica, because in 5 years or whatever, I'm going to want to look at retiring or working less, and so it's like giving that up to her has been beneficial in the success of Sweet Frostings. It really has.
Yeah.
But you just have to know when to back off and say, I give, okay, you got this.
Yeah.
So what would be your advice on how to do that? What was your aha moment? Like, here's how I let go.
Well, I was given that piece of advice long before I opened the business, and I came into the business with that thought that I wanted to hire people better than I am, and you have to let those better people do their job. So it comes to the back of my mind every time we grow, and I know that I'm out of control. This is not something one person can control. So you just have to keep that in the back of your mind that no, they do a great job. Let them do their job. They do a great job.
Right.
Just let them do it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they might need a little direction here and there. So we've now got most of our managerial team seeing the business coach, and he just pushes them in the right direction of like teaching their staff. Making systems to teach their staff, or teach new people coming on that they won't have to keep repeating themselves.
Yeah.
It'll be in writing or in manuals, and then eventually we could potentially franchise if we have all our ducks in a row. Then
Smart. I think the biggest piece of advice I've ever got from any CEO, it's like a common thread. Get a mentor, get a coach, work with someone else. Let the ideas bounce, because it's going to benefit you in the long run.
Yeah.
You can't do everything on your own. Like, people think, like, I'm going to run this business, I'm going to start it, I'm going to do it on my own, I'm going to be my own boss, and it's like, you can do that, and you can be so big, and, you can have a business doing that, but if you want to grow into something bigger than yourself, like, you can't do that on your own.
Yeah.
Like, you have to create a community that you want to be in, and you want to find people who fit in that community. And that's something that I was going to talk about, you know, if we talked about like COVID and all that. But yeah, just like creating your own community in a business is essential, I think, for growth and for having standards, and sticking to those standards is really defining that community.
I had another thought on that that topic. I was a salesperson in the Northwest Territory. Like I said, I went all the way down to Salt Lake City and sold bakery ingredients to many, many, many different companies and small businesses. And what I would see is, I'd see, you know, doesn't it sound like fun to go open a bakery? And they would go open a bakery, and they'd be so gung-ho, but control. They want control of the whole thing, and they would burn out in 2 to 3 years. And they would start this business, and then it was gone.
And you saw that over.
I saw it over and over. And half of my friends that I worked with in the sales community were horrified when I went out to do it myself, because we've all seen it. We've all seen it, and I just thought, no, it's not going to be. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to do that.
They were like, oh, she's opening her own business.
Yeah, so. But see, it's the control. You want control of that whole thing, and if you try to be everything and do all, you can't. You literally will be working 24 hours a day.
Yeah.
And you can't. You just can't.
Yeah.
You got to say when. You got to have regular hours. Jess struggles with that too. She works longer hours than I do at this point in time. I've always been able to, you know, check out when the day's over.
Yeah.
She struggles with it a little more, and not sleeping, thinking about things in the middle of the night.
It's tough when you've got a lot going on. And I mean, in the last year, like, we have reopened our business essentially. So yeah, it's been a complete 360, going from 35 employees to 8 employees back up to 38 employees. It's a huge scaling. It's not easy, and it's not something that you can really describe or explain, I guess, unless you've done it before. It just blows my mind sometimes, like, even the fact that we've done it and we've survived. And even kind of thrived and grown through this last
about a year.
A year.
This last year.
Pandemic. It's, you know, we try not to focus all on the pandemic in the show, but it comes up over the last year every time, because there's so much magnified in this last year in terms of leadership. I think it's easy to lead when times are like they were in 2019, right? I mean, it's like times are great. You can't do wrong. Things come crashing down like the pandemic. It's an opportunity to really study leadership, because the people that are surviving have done things a certain way that have allowed them to just press through that. So
that pivot.
What was the journey like? I mean, take us
scary.
back to March of 2020.
Oh my gosh, it was scary.
What you did from there to just make sure that you stayed alive.
So yeah, I mean, the whole pandemic was something I didn't know how to handle. Obviously, no one really knew how to handle it. It was all new to everybody, but we disagreed on how to handle it, and I'm glad you won that battle because I was
it was like
in fear of the virus. I was in fear of your safety. I was in fear of my dad's safety. I wanted no one to be sick. I was like, okay, we're all going home. We're shutting down. This is what's happening. This is happening.
And I went, I said, you know, go ahead. You go home. I'm staying here because I have 4 rents.
She's
to
like,
pay.
I got bills to pay.
And I have to keep it
open. We have a
We
staff.
have to go.
We have a business. We have a community that we're supporting. We have people who depend on us.
Yeah.
We have rents to pay.
Birthdays didn't stop happening.
Right. Yeah.
Celebrations.
Pandemic or no, people need
family
cake.
Celebrations.
People
they still wanted this stuff, and then and then all the delivery services were phenomenal. That opened up doors to us, and she had just launched the website to online ordering. She had foresight and had been working on it and had launched it in March.
I saw a poll that was like, you know, millennials, 95% more likely to order online than to call you. And I was like, you know, that's so true. I don't know a single person my age or younger who, like, really feels, like, comfortable on the phone. And I'm a phone person. I feel like I was not part of this generation, but I understand it because I see it all the time. So I was like, you know what, we need to start working on a more online presence, and that was in 2019, and thank God we did that, because we we were able to direct people somewhere. I mean, it was limited. It was not, what
Yeah.
it needs to be necessarily. It wasn't
Right.
planned or designed around COVID. It was just, we need an online product, listing, something that people can just check out. And we did it, and
We did it. Well, the government said, everybody stay home. Basically, stay home and hibernate for 2 weeks. It was
Yeah.
supposed to be 2 weeks. And it went from 60 to 0 right at that point in
we
time.
went down 60% in sales. We had to tell our staff to pretty much, go home.
Our staff really willingly, everybody went, I'm going on unemployment. And it was like, okay, great, you go, everybody go. And anybody who said,
But I don't want to
go.
on unemployment.
I would be bored at home.
Yep.
Literally stayed. And yeah, sorry.
You're pounding on the.
Yeah.
I pound on the table too.
Me too.
It's
Let's
like,
go.
Let's just do it. 1, 2, 3.
Yeah, that's why we went down to 8 people. It was the 8 people that worked hard. We had to shut the malls down, of course. The malls were closed. We just ran 2 stores, and it was Chaz running the store.
Yeah, it was just our
we
main
were down here.
Our main people really just sticking it out, being usually you're in a team, and it was just like the one person doing everybody's job, and that's the thing with small business. You're used to wearing multiple hats, but when you're suddenly got 20 more hats to wear all at once, it's like really overwhelming to people, and we all had to just figure it out, and it was a crazy time. I can't believe what we've gone through and how we've survived it. When it's happening, it's just so chaotic, and looking back at it now, it's, we're glad we listened to you on no, we're not closing, we're staying open. What can we do to stay essential? How can we pivot our sales and marketing? How can we still attract our customers, but in a way that makes them feel safe to eat and to patron our establishment, because you don't want to feel like you're going into somewhere where it's unsafe to go, especially during a pandemic where everything feels uncertain and fearful. So
expand on that. I want to know how you came up with the idea of being essential.
Well, food was essential.
but we are such a niche category that
Of
we're
food, right.
we had to decide whether or not we were essential.
This is kind of how it went. I went into Costco. Their entire bread rack was empty. Costco.
Yeah.
You know how big that bread rack is?
Yeah.
The only thing that was on that rack was rye bread and gluten-free.
And we all love that.
That was it.
Right.
It was
Yeah, I do not like
devastating.
rye bread.
And
Maybe I just haven't had the good
and
stuff.
so, hey, we started making bread.
Just white
Nice.
bread.
Yeah, just white
Oh.
bread,
Classic
selling on the counter.
recipe,
You know,
yeah.
It
we've
wasn't-
got white bread. Yeah.
Okay. I stopped in at the North Store right after you started making bread.
Yeah.
And you didn't just make white bread. There was thyme rosemary.
Oh, that was
Oh, so good.
Whoa.
that
Well,
was previous to COVID. That was previous.
Oh,
to
interesting.
COVID. Yeah.
Well, it helped me through COVID. We ate lots of your bread because we couldn't find bread anywhere.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, right?
Yeah.
We couldn't. Nobody could. It was off of all the racks. So we started immediately making bread. And we were doing okay with it. It's just not something we're known for, so
But
we
it was
keep it.
Yeah.
it was definitely when we're down 60% in overall, just being able to attract, okay, what are people looking for? They're looking, breads, you can't find it. Just like toilet paper. It was gone. It was
Yeah.
not
and,
available.
And the stuff that we could not sell or did not sell, we gave to Riverside School District, and they were feeding the kids.
yeah.
So
Oh,
that was
yeah.
also a nice turn of events with community that we could
And
do.
here's what else. I mean, the signal that it sends too is we're not just burying our heads in the sand. We're gonna figure out what people need at this time, and we're gonna do it. And people are gonna remember that
Yeah.
and say, "Hey, I mean, these guys are ingenious, regardless of what happens." And I've talked to a couple other manufacturing type companies, and they went to making the N95 masks
Right.
almost
Yeah.
immediately because a lot of their aerospace stuff was down. And it's these are the companies that, you guys, that have risen to the top and are here to stay at the top. You know what I mean? Because it's you guys will figure out.
Well, when you're
how
put in
to be
that
there.
position and as a community, you see people in need, and we saw
They're immediately out of work.
all these and school
Yeah.
children who get 2 meals a day at school were no longer getting those meals at school. And that's something, as a women-owned business, we're mostly women with children, single family kind of situations where their kids are now not getting their meals, and they're they have to be at home, and it's just a struggle. So we were like, what can we do to help that situation? Not only just for our own, like, oh, we got to stay in business somehow, but how can we do that while also helping the current situation, because everybody's in so much distress, and that was one thing, like, okay, we can make bread. We've got flour, we've got butter, we've got all the things to make bread. Why don't we do that, and how can we help others? We have a high income demographic of people who are still working. They work at hospitals, they work at, offices, they're remote working, so they're still getting income, but a lot of the people we know and love in the food industry are no longer receiving income or any sort of help. So how can we help them? And we made this donation program where people could buy a loaf of bread
and donate
and give it back. Like, they could buy one for somebody else, and then we would donate that to families in low-income areas who were trying to feed their 8 children, and they weren't sure how to do that.
It's cool.
That's an awesome story.
That was super cool.
Wow.
Yeah. And the bread was so good. I'm just saying.
You're going to have to ask the next question, good. Doyle, because I'm kind of in awe about that. Well, no, I'm just in awe about the story, but yeah, I am hungry too.
So, we kind of touched on this a little bit, but what was the transition like from being solopreneurs? You were baking in your kitchen, and then you're now at a trade fair in a small town and blowing through cupcakes, and you had the aha moment. Okay, we're all in. We're doing this. You quit your job. You go. For a while there, you had to be working on your own for a while. So, what was it like when? Okay, we got to lead a team of experts. It's not necessarily letting go of your tasks, but now you've got the people doing it. What's it like to lead that? You were talking about making a community in your own company. So what is it? How does that feel? What does it look like?
Well, I'm coming into already having this established kind of team. So going from being solo baker, such as Sally, to adding a team is something I haven't experienced. I think when COVID, I did kind of experience it a little bit, but
that we opened the doors. You find a location, you find somebody, a contractor, to help you put it together.
Start checking off boxes.
Yeah, checking off boxes, and we started to put this corner together downstairs. We put the corner together, and it's so funny. We're on such a busy corner that people could not wait till the open sign went up.
People were coming
They
in.
were careening around that corner,
knocking on the
a
window.
halt.
When are
That
you
first
opening?
day, it was my business partner, myself, and we had a baker who wasn't really a baker. He was a kitchen manager somewhere else, and so I was running back and forth between the front and the back because Judy was just running the front. And I am not kidding you. That first day, we did not sit down. We did not have lunch. She did not get a cigarette. We did not even use the bathroom for 8 hours that day. It was
we had
a dead
somebody
run.
bring in a resume, and we're like, "You're hired. Start now. Get in here."
Yeah,
Like,
and honestly, the next day that person started, and it was like that. It was like that with bakers. It was like that. People who came to the door that were qualified, and it was a recession in 2011.
Yeah.
People were looking for jobs, and there were good people out there looking for jobs, and we were really fortunate in the people that we hired right away. Sorry. But we ended up with some really good people. We have a couple people from the beginning, but yeah, this is just 10 years in.
Yeah, it's been a long,
awesome.
long ride.
So just on that, leading a team of experts, it's almost like the machine has to be powered and it just keep it going forward. It doesn't sound like there was ever a decision that this was going to happen. It happened for you.
It did. It was an evolution, a growing animal out of control.
You've told me before, like, if you asked her, like, when you open this business, how big do you see it getting? Like, we've already surpassed that.
Oh, yeah, it was beyond. The sales were beyond. We were able to take an income after 3 months. And normally businesses don't do that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Super cool.
It was phenomenal, really. The community, it was something the community wanted and needed and showed us in a hurry.
And that's why it was opened. Is like our friend tried to get a cupcake somewhere and she threw them away. She was like, these aren't worth eating.
So she started baking them at home, and she
Yeah.
came up with a lot of the original recipes. And
Wow.
And now the bakers kind of travel off on their own thing and say, "What do you think about this?" And we go for it. Let's try it.
Yeah, give it a shot.
Flamin' hot Cheeto.
That was an April Fool's. I mean, we
nice.
made them.
Yeah,
Yeah,
they
they're
sold.
here, but probably not like your go-to flavor.
So you guys are business owners, and there's obviously a level of engagement that happens when you start your own business and you own your own business, but you hire good, talented people. How do you keep those people that are working for you like engaged? Because I mean, they don't have the same set of benefits that you do as a business owner. So how do you get that engagement up to where it needs to be successful?
I mean, I'm always willing to get advice on that.
It's not easy, but we
Yeah.
have team meetings every other week. We get together around this table and discuss
I think
what's
it's
going on, and
yeah,
it helps.
making people a part of it,
Communication.
you know?
Yeah.
Making people part of the decision making. Like, what do you guys think of this? What do you think we should do for April Fools? Should we do a Flamin' Hot Cheeto cupcake? Like, what do you guys what do you guys think of that? And having them give us their ideas and working as a team, because yeah, like I said, it's like you can't do everything on your own. Like, I could have one good idea in 3 months, but a team of 30 people, we could have ideas every day. We can do things.
Sometimes you have to curtail that.
Yeah,
That's
that
true.
was going to
Sometimes there's
be
too many
my
ideas.
follow-up. Yeah, is like you also as a leader, you balance between keeping people involved, and there's a certain level of decision making that you have to just leave to yourselves as
Yeah.
well. So, yeah, you sound like you've created a healthy balance of that, and there's a lot of people who haven't. So, anything you can share on getting there as
It's always a work in progress. I wouldn't say I'm there. I wouldn't say that at all.
It's tough right now because, in sales, it can be harsh and people can get tired of it and move on.
Yeah.
And so we're constantly hiring. And one thing our coaches told us is always be looking for people.
Yeah.
Look for good people.
Mhm.
Don't just hire the average, somebody who
Maybe
is
get away
okay,
from
you
hiring
know?
people off the street.
Yeah,
Maybe,
yeah,
maybe
right.
don't do that anymore. Maybe you do like a hiring
do a
process.
little bit of formal interview with people, and yeah.
Maybe work on that a little bit more. Get people who have qualifications, like a baking degree,
Degree,
somebody who's gone to college for art, who wants to have a medium in art with a steady paycheck and income, and
or hire a barista. You don't have
Right,
to train
somebody
to do
trained.
that.
Oh,
They've
yeah.
already got that knowledge under their belt. But it's continual because you have a big company. You're going to have some turnover, and it's like something you got to be working on all the
Outsourcing
time. Outsourcing
it's
is
great.
good.
Yeah.
Tell us about that. You've outsourced. I mean, what do you?
Our social media, we outsource
Yeah.
our social media, so we didn't have to have an in-office person.
Oh
do
yeah,
that. That's
and
Doyle.
that is Doyle with
Yeah.
Kinetic Media.
Yes.
Unintentionally did a
Shout
pitch
out.
for your company there. So
Yeah,
that was
that's
awesome.
all right.
Yeah.
It's our honor to work with inspired artists like you, because it's what we are,
Yeah.
and so it's like aligned forces, right?
Yeah.
And it helps us expand on our mediums. Like here's what we know how to do, but you come in and you see someone baking cakes and you make them uneasy with the camera, and it opens up a conversation. Okay, well, how would you like me to put this out there for you? And they show me the angles that they know looks good,
Yeah.
right? And so we can make the cake the star.
Yeah.
But the Cheetos, I just got to go there. We'll definitely post pictures on the internet because we got lots of them. I think we were here for an hour shooting hot Cheeto
Cheetos?
cupcakes.
For one day
For one day.
special.
And we did. We got one good photo. That's
Yeah.
really all that matters.
I mean,
but-
there's a subculture of people that would be their favorite cake. I think, honestly.
definitely.
Oh, yeah, they came.
Well, we-
They came.
shout out
Yeah.
to Holly at Kinetic.
Shout
Yeah.
out
Oh
to
my
Holly.
word.
Yeah.
She actually bought 4 of them.
I think she got 6.
It's so good.
That's awesome.
I don't know if we have a photo of her eating them, but she was just over the moon. It's her
That's
favorite.
hilarious.
Yeah,
That's
it's
so
good.
funny.
And they actually did taste really good.
Yeah.
I was a skeptic. But if you eat hot food, you have to drink milk.
Right.
Like my style of hot food. You're breaking a sweat. It's painful. Drink milk. It's gone. Kinda.
Uh-huh.
If you eat a vanilla cupcake with Flamin' Hot Cheetos in it, the burn's already gone.
Oh,
Yeah.
It's amazing.
right.
Oh, because you have your
Yeah.
kind of have your
Yeah,
milk
you have
in
your
your.
dairy in there.
Wow,
Yeah.
That's
that's
sweet and
awesome.
Sweet and salty,
All
sweet
that.
and savory thing going on.
One thing I just want to jump this in here because I think it'd add value to our listeners, and it's in alignment with what you're saying about hiring people with skills. We never really had a hiring process.
Yeah.
I didn't, but I was never really desperate for help. We're kind of a slow-moving train on our end. But when I did start losing employees because it wasn't what they expected,
Yeah.
I flipped a switch that changed the game. We started explaining the culture of our company right up front. If this is you, give us a call. The two people that we've just hired, amazing gals, they're fantastic social media managers, and they actually didn't apply because they saw an ad on LinkedIn. They saw what we were writing on our website about our culture, and they felt like they were in alignment, and they gave up their jobs to come work for us.
Oh my gosh,
So
Wow.
they
that's
were
a
both
great idea.
they were both
put it on.
employed.
It's already on there.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's already
Actually,
on. Sorry,
it's
Sally.
already
I have
there.
to,
That's
You're
awesome.
Sally, I have to tell you, I read that on your website, and I'm doing this for us. So you already
Oh.
had it done.
Oh.
And I remember
that,
emailing.
That would be her.
See that? This is the value of a business community, and like we have that in Spokane a lot more than other places. Is business owners who are willing to collaborate on their ideas.
Yeah.
I've been in other big cities and been around businesses there, and a lot of it is very closed door, closed mouth.
You don't want to talk to your competition.
Yeah.
Oh, my word.
So like,
You don't want anybody knowing what you're doing because they'll steal the ideas or
Right.
whatever.
That struggle's real.
But
Yeah.
it's
It
real, but
is.
it's flattering.
It is flattering. I honestly,
Exactly.
people will ask me if I have gone into this bakery or that bakery, and I've always been like, no. I don't want to take ideas that somebody else has and try to pan them off as my own. And that's one of the reasons why I don't often go in. She'll go in and say, give me an opinion of something or another, and
Mhm.
a lot of my opinion or my ideas may have come out of my travels in the
Yeah.
last several years before I ever opened this.
Mhm.
But it was mainly about how I wanted to run a business, more so than, I guess, the items or the trends that were going on.
yeah.
Yeah.
How do you stay sharp on just new ideas? I guess you've had a certain level of success and making sure that you're not resting on your laurels. How do you keep that ingenuity going?
I mean, I think ingenuity is just always constant. I feel like
Yeah.
people have great
Yeah.
ideas. There's always new flavors. There's always trends. There's always
Well,
flaming hot Cheetos
especially
or
when you
whatever.
work when you work with a group of young people who are all
Creatives
online.
and artists,
Yeah.
and everybody's got great ideas. I think the main struggle is just sticking with consistency. I think in any business,
Yeah.
that is the priority over ingenuity is
Mhm.
is having consistency and knowing what to expect when you come
product
in.
and hours and
Yeah.
it's not just one thing, it's the whole thing.
I think too much ingenuity actually hurts a lot of businesses. They're trying to make too many
Yeah.
changes too quickly, and their customers are like, I just want that thing I had last time.
Yeah, and then the
Right.
brand would get diluted because people are like, well, what are they doing?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and you
It's-
kind of have
they're
to
trying
stick
to do everything.
You
Yeah.
have to stick to a certain amount of SKUs. I mean, you get carried away and you're making everything.
And everybody
Yeah.
And not well because
Yeah.
you're trying to do too much.
And
spread
everybody's
thin.
Yeah.
got opinions on what you want to do, and I thought
Yeah.
that was the most eye-opening thing coming into a business and telling people, oh yeah, I work at Sweet Frostings, like my mom owns it, and we're
You guys should do this. Yeah.
that's the
Oh, yeah.
first
Every
thing
time.
Yeah.
every time.
Every time.
Oh,
Well-
you need to do this.
I could kind of get it. I love pie, and whenever I eat pie, then I'm like giving the person feedback, but then I have to stop and say, you know what, I couldn't make this pie in 100 years, so great job. It's amazing. So
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's hilarious. That's true, though. I mean, 90%. It's like letting go of, well, honestly, process. If I obsess on process,
Mhm.
and that's maybe my newfound thing. I can see that happening. Like every
Yeah.
time I'm in your shop doing any kind of work, I can see someone over here doing something that they probably wouldn't have done without proper training, understanding process, and then each person knows the process and they just gel. The team effort going on in the bakery is amazing. I love it. I've come in at 5 a.m. to shoot videos because maybe I'm a little
oh,
crazy.
that'd be cool.
It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's when
But-
they're rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
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 and they're so muscle memory.
Yeah.
It's really inspiring. We should
So
just do a video on it. Show it off.
Paint
It's
that
cool.
picture a little bit more for me and the listeners too. Like, I mean, what scale is happening in the bakery? It's
They start at
massive,
4
or-
a.m.
Yeah.
And there's a team of about 4
Making
Yeah.
about
making
1,000 cupcakes a day.
They're frosting
1,000.
about 1,000 cupcakes that they baked the night before. So they're literally lining everything up. They've got the orders. They've got stacks, probably or bins now. We have bins. We
Yeah.
went from stacks to bins and frosting all of those cupcakes. That each one of them picks an icing. They have to reconstitute it. Everything we make is with butter, goes in the cooler. So they bring it back out. It's kind of hard, and so they
Mhm.
have to reconstitute it on everything on the mixer. Goes again and makes it nice and smooth and able to pipe on a decent, topping on a cupcake. So they each have their own flavors going on. Everybody around the bench has a
Yeah.
flavor and a
Piping
color.
all of the
Color of
different-
heart. Every heart we put on our cupcakes is hand punched. We have.
This is true.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work.
It's a lot of work.
I would
A
love
lot
to
of
see
moving
that.
pieces.
It's a lot. I love manufacturing myself, and it's a lot of it is kind of manufacturing, right?
Yeah.
It's
It is the first shift of bakers. It is totally the same thing, kind of.
manufacturing plus art
Yeah.
Totally.
is kind of
Yeah.
a cool world.
Oh,
Yeah.
and side note, not only is 1,000 cupcakes getting made, but the layered cakes are coming out at the
Right.
same time.
At
Okay.
the same time, they're making, and I mean, as they're
Insane.
making these batters for all these different cupcakes, they're also
baking
pouring
cake.
cakes, which is, they're scaling and pouring different sizes of cakes to order or for our cake case.
And our cake section has grown through the COVID situation. It has gotten bigger and bigger, and we're now up to almost 6 people in the cake room right now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. That all they do is ice and decorate.
And they don't
cake.
bake.
They don't do the cupcakes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
they don't bake.
All art.
So
It's
they're
all
just doing the
artwork.
art.
Mhm.
Man, this is all pretty fascinating. I need to.
We
Have
need-
I
you
think
had
I
a
need to see
tour?
this.
You need a tour.
I need a tour
You gotta have a
sometime.
tour.
Yeah.
We'll post some videos. I don't normally do this on our social media for the podcast, but it is truly cool stuff.
Yeah.
It's fun to see.
It
Or,
is fun to
we'll
see.
give a link to your Facebook page. That's what we'll do.
Yeah, we've got some videos on there.
Actually, Instagram's where it's at.
We
but
have a baking
it's a good
room
grid.
and we have a decorating room. So they each have their separate space.
Yeah.
We
Oh,
have
yeah.
2 teams of bakers. One that just does cupcakes and cakes in the morning, and the second team of bakers does everything else. They do the
Cookies.
cookies and the brownies and the lemon bars and the Rice Krispie treats and all of that in the afternoon, and the macarons. And the decorators, they are in a circle just being artists.
Yeah.
And then is that happening here in this building then?
Yep. Mhm.
First in Washington downtown here?
Yes.
Yeah, all of
Um,
that.
So then, these are just curiosity questions now, but I sometimes go on these trains. So then from there, you've got to get cupcakes and cakes to different locations,
Yep. We
to-
deliver them every day.
Every day.
end consumers or to the stores,
Both.
both.
Yeah.
we
Talk
don't,
through the logistics of that. I mean, that's
We don't sell anything commercially. We
okay.
are-
Yep.
We don't wholesale.
Wholesale,
So
I
it's all
mean-
Yep.
retail out of
It's
our
all
locations.
retail.
Mhm.
And so we just have to deliver to our locations.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
But we do deliver to clients. Clients can order for delivery. We can
Sure.
deliver. We were just delivering to businesses because we were having, all female drivers. It was getting a little sketchy going to people's houses. But with COVID,
we opened it up to
we were
homes.
like, okay, we got to do homes.
Yeah.
We got some more.
Everybody's at home. Nobody's
yeah.
at a business now.
Got
Exactly.
some more drivers that are comfortable with that,
Yeah.
going to homes and, that, because
Mhm.
that can mean anything, you're going into somebody's gate. I don't know if you're going
Yeah.
into, like, the back door. Like, some people have weird, oh, you got to do this to get to me,
Yep.
So-
we had some sketchy deliveries, and that we kind of reeled it back originally. That's
Yeah,
because
but-
it was just my business partner, myself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we
But with COVID and this newfound, I want it dropped off at my doorstep kind of
Perfect.
attitude that's expected, we were like, okay, we gotta
open it
do
up.
this if we
So
want to do
we have
delivery.
a minivan.
Yeah, so we've got a van. We have a limited amount of delivery time because we only have one person doing all those deliveries. But
Wow.
Each
we
day.
also are on the third-party deliveries. You can get us on Grubhub, Uber, and Treehouse
Okay.
Delivery is local delivery service.
Yeah, so
And that's
if
cool.
we can't do
Yeah.
it, we know we can refer to Uber Eats or
That's a pretty
Treehouse or
scalable
Grubhub.
solution then, I guess, if the
Yeah.
demand gets really high.
Yeah.
Right.
on
We also
the
have a
delivery.
separate wedding cake delivery service that is like for tall, like tiered cakes and like the more extravagant.
We use Spokane Floral Delivery for our wedding cake service, and they've done a fabulous job for us for the last several years.
So if I think about it, we actually have 5 delivery outlets.
Yeah.
Logistics.
But
no
just
kidding.
to our stores, he starts early. Because they're done early with the what goes out to the stores every morning, because we're all doing the same thing. All our cupcakes are the same in each store, so he goes to all of them.
Wow.
The other 3 locations.
It's impressive.
This is really cool.
Yeah.
I mean, it's like manufacturing, art, logistics, retail sales. I mean, there's a lot in this. It's very cool.
We're such a niche when filling out like forms for like, I don't know, like even COVID, like just filling out like the loan type of things that they ask you, like, what is your business? And it's like bakeries rarely ever a section. So I have to decide, are we retail? Are we restaurant? What are we?
Where do you fall?
We fall in so many categories because of all the kind of outlets that we have. You know, we have this custom creative to order, like you can commission something. We can have a dragon breathing fire on your cake if you want, but you can also do like, you know, online quick to order, shoot, retail. You know, we got sweatshirts, we got candles, we've got all the things. So we're such a niche, I guess, in the category of what our business is, that it's like all of it.
Yeah.
It's pretty impressive. That's awesome.
That is awesome. Well, I think it's time for our 7th inning stretch. Doyle,
Here we go.
take us away.
Yeah. Well, no surprise, we have a 7th inning stretch. So the super fun questions we ask every one of our guests, and since we have two guests on our podcast this afternoon, we might get 2 separate answers, but we're going for it. So tell us your favorite Spokane entertainment.
Oh my gosh, and better answer that. I'm really boring. I like to golf.
There you go. Hey,
Golf.
That's awesome. Golf is
Spokane
great.
is loaded with golf
golf.
courses.
Yes, I love concerts. I wish they were back, but hopefully they're coming back. Going hiking. I mean, Spokane's gorgeous. It has so many different places you can go. The river, you know, Bull and Pitcher, all the places. I think that's my entertainment.
I think that question is a pitch for coming to visit Spokane. Like, if anyone ever listens to this podcast outside of the Spokane region, because it's a cool podcast and who doesn't want to know more about leadership, but come to Spokane and visit.
Yeah.
It's a crazy amount of things to do, 4 seasons, but the hiking here is amazing. It's always a good time.
Get the best of both worlds, the city and kind of country all in one.
Mm-hmm.
Totally. Where's your favorite Spokane coffee shop?
Sweet Frostings.
Boom.
Of course.
I knew it.
Yeah.
Sweet Frostings. Also a coffee shop.
Really
I
the
guess.
only place I get my coffee anymore.
Yeah.
What do you guys not do? Did you make this table in the wood shop?
I did. I actually, my husband is crafting now, and
Liar.
That's awesome.
I'm actually not lying. My father-in-law is making us a
Yeah,
bench right now.
Well, he's making
There you go.
a piece of the
Our
cabinetry
counters,
for the Whitworth store. We're putting our milkshakes up there right now, so we're refabricating.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I should just explain to anyone that's not seeing what we're doing. We'll have it on YouTube at some point, but if you're listening to this podcast, we're currently podcasting on top of a repurposed kitchen table in the Sweet Frostings office. It's never a dull moment around here.
It's our conference table.
Yeah.
Come
Yeah.
on.
Yeah, our
cool.
podcast has been set up across many different things, including rolling garbage cans turned upside down.
However,
wow.
those are for food service.
That sounds
That's
like
true.
a bakery.
So they're
yeah?
not garbage cans.
They were
They're
holding coffee beans.
yes,
Oh.
holding containers, I guess is the right way to say that.
That was pretty fun. But, yeah, podcasting on coffee bean containers. But they are garbage cans, technically.
We go
Yeah.
anywhere.
Yeah. Favorite Spokane restaurant?
I was gonna say like Wasabi or Hops and Drops. Churchill's.
You can say that.
Steak, yeah.
Yeah.
Churchill's. I have to say Churchill's is one of my favorites.
Twigs.
Casa de Oro. I'm
Oh,
a kind
yeah.
of a regular at Casa de Oro.
Okay.
Enrique's a friend of ours.
Where's that located?
Division.
Northwest Boulevard-ish? Somewhere in there?
Division.
Division.
And
It's Wellesley. It's south of Division Wellesley. It's
Yeah.
by
Yeah,
the
I think I
IHOP
can
right
picture
there.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, gotcha. I know where it's
It used
at.
to be Papagayo's.
Best margarita in town.
Yeah.
Good content.
Yes.
I think actually the 7th inning stretch has just turned into we're gonna have to post everybody's favorites on the internet.
Favorites.
Yeah, that's true.
With links to go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. We'll just maybe
Punch
put it-
list of where to visit, what to do. Yeah,
Yeah.
very
and
cool.
the recommendation it came from. We should put a page on the website.
My trend has been to go visit like a restaurant or two that people have brought up. I think it was Baba a couple
Oh,
weeks
yeah, that's
ago.
right.
Yeah.
Before that, I mean, I always just try new restaurants. So whenever people bring something up, I go try it a couple weeks later.
Oh,
so
that's great.
That's
Yeah,
smart.
we're huge foodies, so it's hard to pick one. Yeah, I also
Yeah.
have to throw in like
We get stuck in a rut and go to the same ones all the time, and I'm always thinking, I know there's a bunch of great restaurants in this town. I can never think of it when I'm hungry.
Yeah, just listen to some of the other episodes
That's
and
right.
start a punch list.
We're gonna have to curate. We'll start curating places to eat in Spokane.
There you go.
Yeah, it's gonna be good. Favorite pastime. This is free for all. Like, doesn't have to be anywhere you go in Spokane. It could be at home.
I like to travel to very hot places. That is my favorite.
Yes.
I like creating. Me and my husband are very creative. We just got a bunch of toys to like sand and make like wood things.
Really?
And,
Oh.
I like drawing and I do
Sewing?
enjoy baking. I like doing that not at work though.
Do you now?
I mean, I have a mixer that I need to, break out, but I like cooking and baking. Cooking's kind of fun because it's a little bit more creative, I feel like, in the
It is.
in the process, whereas baking is a science, so it's a little more exact in the
Oh, yeah.
process.
Mhm.
But you can be more like creative on the outside, you're
Yeah.
decorating it, but as far as like the process, it's very science, so
Yeah,
it's
my
exact.
husband, Jesse's dad, is a fabulous cook, and we always have these big, great
With
dinners at our house. That's another
spices.
favorite pastime.
Yeah.
is eating at our house.
Nice.
We love spicy
That's a good one.
food, so we're very like creative.
I'll put
with
it on the
spices.
calendar.
She has 2 brothers. They have roommates. Everybody comes, so it's
Yeah.
lovely.
So do you guys get any inspiration from, like, where do you get your kind of leadership inspiration from? A lot of people read maybe different books or listen to
We-
inspirational folks.
I get a lot of inspiration from my parents, honestly. My mom obviously created and Sweet Frostings.
Her dad has his own business as well.
Okay,
Not
yeah.
Sweet Frostings.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, my parents both created businesses. I mean, I don't want to say from nothing, but pretty much. Like, you didn't ever own a business before this. I mean, maybe you did, but coming in from like my age, you didn't. And
Right.
starting from the ground up is so inspiring. Like, knowing that you can work hard enough, you can make whatever you want. You can create a company that has 38 employees who's supporting multiple families. You can create a community. I don't think you ever thought you were doing that, but
No, it's far bigger than I thought it was
yeah.
gonna be. I think my ex-business partner had different ideas at the time.
But the inspiration comes from the
Yeah.
people who are just creating. Like, I love creatives and
Mm-hmm.
people who build businesses in a way, whether they think they're creative or not, are a creative in creating environments.
Nice.
Yeah. That's my
Cool.
answer.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
How about you, Sally? Do you have anybody that, like, any place to direct people that has inspired you, like leadership advice, like online Gary Vaynerchuk style books, maybe?
Oh yeah. John Maxwell's always good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
John Maxwell, the books. Gosh,
My husband loves Gary Vaynerchuk, by the way.
Nice.
there's
He's-
a lot
he's
of
pretty
good,
brawn.
Good business type that we've been reading.
We've been reading also, it's a constant learning. There's
It
so
is,
many
yeah.
people who are inspiring. I think, I don't know if you want to say Oprah Winfrey, but we share last names, so we've always watched her.
Yeah.
There you go.
There you go.
was
I
like
thought
that.
about making a joke about that today, but then I was like, you know what? Probably everybody that meets these guys does something like
No
that.
one my age knows her last name.
Oh, really?
It's like,
Oh
yeah,
yeah,
no.
it's like Cher.
It's just
and
like Cher,
the
yeah,
one-namers.
Madonna,
Yeah.
I realized
Yes.
that when I used to
Oprah.
say my last name's Winfrey, just like Oprah, and they'll go, who?
They're like,
It's
what?
like,
That's funny.
I grew up on Oprah.
Well, I
Very
think
awesome.
that's the undertone of our podcast. Like, we're trying to highlight local businesses, business leaders who have exemplified leadership to the fullest extent, and you've created your own style. And everyone we interview has their own style. Yeah, you might have an inspiration here, read a book, whatever, but you're doing it. You're on the front lines of your own company, and there's so many places to go on the internet to find inspiration. But our goal is to give the Spokane region and anyone who's listening to this a picture or a glimpse of inspiration from what you've accomplished and what our other guests have accomplished. So it's been inspiring for us. So it's been
Well
wonderful
said.
to be together with you.
Well said.
Thank you.
Jessica, Sally,
Appreciate
thanks
it.
for being on the Lilac City Leadership Podcast. And again, they're sweet frostings. If you don't know them already, you should. I'm not sure what rock you've been living under, but if you haven't, come down, check the store out here on First and Main. There's a bunch of other locations
First
around
in
town.
Washington.
Oh yeah, First in Washington.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
So down here on First in Washington, what are some other locations, real quick, in closing?
Whitworth location is on Division and Hawthorne, pretty
Division
much
and
right on the
Hawthorne,
intersection there. Northtown Mall and Valley Mall.
Nice.
Northtown and Valley.
And then, can you give us a domain to your website so that people could order online right off this podcast?
Yeah, you can Google Sweet Frostings. I know we'll pop up first there, but you can also go to www.sweetfrostingsbakeshop.com.
Boom.
Wow, nice.
Nice.
And I'm way too hungry. Thanks again for listening. This
Yeah.
has been another episode of the Lilac City Leadership Podcast from James Krejci.
And Doyle Wheeler.
Have a great day.